I'm going to just start by telling you all a little bit about what the social action projects are from our Friends Forever side. I won't be doing that for too long. I know what we're really here for is to hear from the folks that completed them, but just to give us a little bit of background. So Friends Forever International's mission is to help youth become the best versions of themselves so that they can help their community become the best version of itself. And going through these projects are really where we get to take that mission and make it actionable. And these two and the rest of the folks that have made it to this point are really a testament to that in making that small scale community change with the resources that they have at their disposal right now. So the FFI immersion program, these programs are usually between 10 and 16 days in person, but before their in-person component, they go through a team building phase where they develop their team identity, they bond as a team, and they come up with the goals and the foundation for success during the in-person component of their program. And then after that in-person part, they go through what you're just seeing the final component of right now, which is their community building phase, where they develop, plan, and implement a community-based project addressing a need that they recognize in the community that they're in. And just to give you a little overview, this has been, this time, it's our first time doing it quite in this way. As anyone who's been with Friends Forever for a while knows, we're constantly changing the mold of what we do and doing things that are making improvements that are more efficient and work for the groups we're working with. So the community building phase is about 12 weeks with some breaks in between for some in-person meetings and some areas of feedback. But for the most part, these folks have been walking themselves through that curriculum and communicating with us along the way. And when it comes to, like I had mentioned, of understanding a community need that they're going to address, we've started by comparing and contrasting the way we see that community issue with other folks, understanding who in our community is already addressing that issue, why that issue matters, and more specifically, why it matters to us. What is our why? And how does the perspective that we have impact the way that we view this issue? And then taking all of that information, everyone looks at, okay, what impact can I make with all of that information in mind? They first developed a brainstorm where they turned their project idea and develops a list of stakeholders and folks in their community that could help, some of the outcomes for their project and what success really looks like. They developed all of the objectives. We use the OCRA's method here of objectives, key results, and action steps. And they developed a budget and put those in order of what's going to be most essential for their project to be able to happen. And then from all of those objectives, key results, action steps, we've turned those action steps into a timeline and an actionable plan that they can follow through. And as you can see, that in itself and getting that to its most finalized state and submitting a project proposal is a lot of work. And along the way, they've had different advisory reviews where they've met with staff, alumni, and got some feedback on their projects and learned about ways that they can further develop them. So there's been that sort of communicative Friends Forever piece throughout, but they've really done an enormous amount of work to reach the point that you're seeing today.
Hi, good evening. My name is Ruth Jaiola, and I will be introducing my social action project, Project Produce Connection. Before we move on from the slide, I would like to introduce the photo in the background. That is me with my team. We were doing a team building activity, and we spent the whole day outside going through a variety of different courses. This specific one, we had to find ways to balance our weight on this platform. I felt like it was a good opportunity for us to learn how to communicate, and we left that day very proud of ourselves. Who am I? I am currently a student at Wellesley College with a prospective major in environmental studies and anthropology. I'm from Houston, Texas, and live in Indianapolis and have been a resident since July of 2022. I am currently obsessed with frogs, have a mostly thrifted closet, aspire to be an environmental lawyer / farmer / resident on a commune. I love nature and gardening, but really dislike mosquitoes, and I am learning to play the harp. The problem that I'm hoping to target is food insecurity. It is a very prominent issue in the United States. About 44 million people in the US are food insecure. Though food banks are helpful, many only provide non-perishable food. These foods often have many artificial preservatives, can cause illness if not properly canned, and lack the same amount of nutrients available in fresh produce. I personally have spent most of my life food insecure and have seen the physical and mental health effects it can have on people. And I believe it's important to find possible solutions and put them into place. According to the USDA, food insecurity is the limited or uncertain foods or limited or uncertain ability to acquire acceptable foods in socially acceptable ways. According to Feeding America, it is when people can't access the food they need to live their fullest lives. My solution is Project Produce Connection. With my project, I hope to connect farms with food distribution centers to provide food insecure families and individuals with free fresh produce. I plan to actively make partnerships between farms and food distributors through a formulated process. It starts with the proposal phase. I wrote 2 separate proposals for farms and food distributors and called or emailed them to present it. The matching process. During this time, I will be consulting each group regarding their needs, what they would be able to donate, when they'd be available for picking up donations, and when they'd be able to have donations dropped off, etc. After the match, I will host a series of meetings for each pairing to straighten out logistics, prepare for the project launch, and maintain the relationships between each pairing. For deliveries, though I'd like to remain hopeful that my project could recur yearly, it will likely only be a little over 3 months long in terms of food distribution length, and my project will be taking place in Greater Boston, and deliveries will be directly to food distribution centers. In case you don't already know, Greater Boston includes locations like Boston, of course, Wellesley, Winchester, Milton, etc. Okay. How we will do it. I will personally create and maintain partnerships and recruit volunteers. Volunteers attend initial meetings with me, purchase produce if a farm ever has to miss a delivery, and will help with the delivering process. Food distributors will be responsible for allocating the produce that is delivered, and the farms will grow, harvest, and deliver 200 pounds of produce. This is the grand total for every partnership made. It's not an expectation from a single farm. Also, though volunteers are meant to help with deliveries, they may also be busy at some point during the growing season. In this case, delivery duties will be reallocated to either farms or food distribution centers. Okay, for the resources and costs, the grand total that I'm hoping to fundraise is $1,535. Broken down, travel is expected to be $240. This will cover 15 round trips via the commuter rail for myself and volunteers. The produce subsidies are expected to be $75 per pairing. This essentially will be able to replace one missed day that a farm may not be able to cover. And volunteers will go out with the funds to get produce to deliver. And then the posters are for advertising. There will be a brainstorming period, which I will expand on in the next slide. And we are aiming to get 100 posters. They're 11 by 17 inches, and total of that would be $70. The largest expense is the commercial fridge. They can cost upwards of $1,000. This is a completely aspirational ask and may not even be necessary. I've learned that the trouble with produce donations is often an inability to properly store the produce at the location of the food distributors. So I decided to list it as a possible expense. Of course, there will be, there's also time spent and recruiting volunteers in terms of resources. But again, the total that I'm hoping to fundraise is $1,535. This is the timeline of my project. I'm expecting it to last, well, it has technically already started in last December and in late September of this year. It started with the writing of the proposals and communicating with farms and food distributors. We are now leading into the matching process. There's still, I believe, a week of time for more people to decide whether or not they'd be interested so that I can begin the matching process, which is meant to last 3 weeks. We will start, I guess, discussing further meeting. After matching, I will put both the farms and the food distributors in contact. And launch will not be until late April because the growing season in Massachusetts starts a bit later than the South. And my desired result, I hope that by the end of my project, even if it's only for a few months, people are able to have less stress on their plates. You know, it's not very easy to have to be worrying about where your next meal is coming from. And I hope that they are able to have more access to produce. Okay, thank you so much. I do apologize again. My QR code is on the slides if you'd like to scan it, and I would appreciate any donations.